Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Sandy Rosenthal, host of Beat the Big Guys. And this week, my guest is from the Chicago area. His name is Howard Prager. Hello, Howard.
Hi, Sandy. How are you? I'm glad to be here.
I'm so excited about having you here as well. How's the weather in Chicago?
It is actually, we're getting a little bit muggy and it's supposed to be a hot weekend. So we've had rain all week. Now comes the sun. Hopefully, everything that's planted to the ground is growing the way it should.
Well, here in New Orleans, it's hot. It was about 90 yesterday. We had a cold front came through, so it's only going to get up to about 85 today.
That's a cold front.
That's a cold front for us, but we're grateful because it's dry.
Oh, okay. Well, we get cold fronts, and cold fronts are like, should we really have put the snowblower away? That's our cold fronts.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I look forward to coming back to Chicago again one day soon.
Good.
So our guest, some of you may not be familiar with the work of Howard Prager. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about him and his work right now. Howard is president of Advanced Learning Group. He's an author, speaker, executive coach, and leadership consultant with an understanding of what leaders need to take the next step in their growth. Howard has received 8 professional awards for his work in leadership and team development. He's a member of the Marshall Goldsmith MG 100, and he's also a sports columnist. That's really interesting. And finally, again, Howard is the author of Make Someone's Day, Become a Memorable Leader for Work and Life. And I look so forward to talking more about leadership and how important that is in beating the big guys. But first, Howard, I understand you play the tuba.
I do play the tuba, yes. In fact, I have rehearsal tonight.
Well, so my husband plays the piano, and it's not uncommon for him to be playing the piano at 7 o'clock in the morning or even 11 o'clock at night. And I've actually learned to sleep through it, okay? But I can't imagine sleeping through a tuba.
I'm not sure about sleeping through tuba either. I would hope that you wouldn't, just because you love the sonorous tone and the beautiful sound that the tuba can make.
Well, I just think that's fascinating. So tell us a little bit more. I mean, do you do more than just sit in your house and practice the tuba?
Yes. I play in several bands. I have had my own Dixieland band for over 50 years. I play in a community band. I play in a brass band. I'm a tuba player. We can't be fussy. I'll play wherever I can and love making music for others.
Well, I love it. As a New Orleanian, it is impossible for a week to go by without hearing a tuba somewhere, doing a second line or at a party. But like I said, it's not in my house. So it's a little bit different, but I love it. So thank you for sharing that with us. So
Sure.
Leadership, I've you don't have to be leader of a Fortune 500 company to be a good leader, and anyone can lead. It just takes some skills, and I hope you. I'm starting over again, Jess, and I look forward to hearing what you can share with our listeners about leadership.
Sure, I'd love to, and I know that you had my friend and colleague Michelle Johnston on a little while ago, and she also talked about leadership. She does some great work down there at Loyola University in New Orleans. So the big thing about both leadership and life is the things we remember. Those are the memorable moments. And I find whether it's teaching a leadership course or doing something for others, whether it's best birthday celebrations, or even just recognition of others in various ways. Events that are memorable tend to stick with us, and leaders that are memorable tend to stick with us. Unfortunately, there are leaders that are memorable for the wrong reasons, and there are people memorable for the wrong reasons. Those probably are some of the big guys that we're trying to beat, right? So I really want to focus on what can we do to be memorable in a positive way? What are the things that we can do that can help bring kindness, gratitude, and really the idea of making someone's day into our life? For those are risking their careers and standing up for what's right, the upstanders. For others who see unlawful actions and let others know, they work to ensure that honesty, bravery, and doing the right thing is what matters. And they strive to make sure that the situation doesn't happen again. I've been super blessed in my life to hear firsthand from some of these upstanders, people who felt compelled to do the right thing, that they didn't even question, was it the right thing? They knew that they needed to do it, and they didn't consider themselves heroes. And I'm going back even to World War II, because a number of years ago, I was able to hear the leader of the Danish resistance. Now, we know that in World War II, it was just awful for so many reasons, for the Holocaust and the systematic killing of Jews and so many others, and the atrocities that the Nazis unveiled on us. Yet the Danish resistance leader said, this was the thing to do. I don't feel like I'm a hero. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. And that's what I believe that I've been trying to teach here with Make Someone's Day. That there's a model that they use and that I use called the VIP model. And let me discuss the book, the concept, the model, and share some examples of how it works with our listeners. So the V stands for, well, actually, let me start, before I jump into VIP, let me start with an editorial that appeared just today in the Chicago Tribune. And it was about the awful, horrendous shooting in Texas yesterday. But the editorial started with talking about MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Candy Lightner started MAD in 1980 after the senseless death of her 13-year-old daughter to a drunken driver. She wanted to do all she could to prevent those awful drunk driving accidents. It wouldn't bring her daughter back, but her action could save others' lives. And it has. The drinking age has been raised. The blood alcohol level needed to be called intoxicated was lowered. And through her actions, she stepped up and made all of our days by making our roads and highways a little safer, because drunk driving was taken more seriously. And what she did is she really followed the VIP model. And I created this model to help others learn how they can make someone's day. The V is for view and observe. So she viewed and observed what was going on, not just with her daughter, but with others, and rampant drunk driving accidents that were occurring at that time. Then I is for identify and consider. She considered the action she could take. And she took probably the boldest action she could by creating MADD, MAD. And then P is for planning and acting. In some cases, you plan and act almost immediately. It's things that happen on the spur of the moment that we just respond to instinctively. In Candy's case, it took lots of planning to create the organization, get it off the ground, and get the success that she needed to change laws and help everyone and save lives. So that's really what Make Someone's Day is all about. I'd love to say it's all about saving lives, but it's all about making other people's days by using that VIP method.
That's an excellent example. And this was just in the Chicago Tribune just yesterday.
Today's editorial.
In today's editorial. Okay. So that's an example of somebody who I of course I remember Candy Lightner. But I'm sure she's someone who, probably had no special training. Probably never in 1,000 years would have imagined her taking on this role of creating something that is so incredibly well known today. And but that didn't stop her. And of course, she never saw herself as a hero.
No,
No,
no.
indeed. No,
Yeah. So let me share a simpler story, because it's
sure.
great to hear these big ones. These people, even though they're very unassuming, but the actions and the steps they take are huge steps. How about smaller steps? So Sam was a paralegal with a new paralegal with a law firm. And on her second day, her boss gave her an assignment that she finished before she left. And she was quite proud of her work. However, that night at home, she realized she made a mistake, not a small one. She tossed and turned all night as she wondered the next morning, would she be fired? Would she be yelled at? What would be the consequences of this mistake? So as soon as she got in, she went to see her boss, and her boss knew how to make someone's day, because she said, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. My instructions weren't clear enough. I don't believe people make mistakes themselves. They do so when they don't have all the correct information. Wow. Sam's boss observed how concerned she was. She considered this a learning method for both of them, and then acted by taking the blame for the mistake. Is that an amazing leader?
It's amazing. Unfortunately, I don't think there are enough of those kinds of leaders.
Right.
But yes, it's amazing.
That's what made me write the book, because I want there to be more types of leaders like that. We need more leaders like that. People are so stressed today. All the things that we're facing, the fear of COVID, and it's coming back now. Fear of COVID for ourselves and our families. Deciding if I'm working remotely, part-time or full-time, where I need to get my dedicated space at home and being accessible, but adapting to the stresses of either working in person or hybrid. I don't know how safe or vaccinated everyone is. Increasing pressure from what's going on in the world, and we're facing no end of challenges and tragedies going on. And even in the supply chain turmoil we're facing, struggling to get baby formula. My gosh, something so fundamental. How could that be a problem? So I think it's something that we're all dealing with, these challenges right now. As a matter of fact, I have a chapter in the book dealing with rudeness and incivility, and a chapter in the book about dealing with how do you make someone's day in a crisis. And both those things are examples of what's happening and what we need to do to turn around the situation. And I quote various studies. In fact, I've got one, Christine Porath from the University of Florida did some excellent work around rudeness. She studied critical care doctors. So let me just share with you that they found that exposure to rudeness had a negative effect on their ability to diagnose and treat their patients. In another study, she found that customer service reps who experienced rudeness made more errors. Whatever line of work, rudeness makes things worse, and what's more, people don't get over it. It can affect your performance and concentration all day and even longer. There's all sorts of research going on around this and talking about what do we need to do? How can we make these changes? How can make someone's day become part of our lives?
And so what would that change be to with the leaders who are handling rudeness? I mean, what is the change?
Yes. So I'm going to tell. So part of it is a change in ourselves.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a little example from my dad.
Okay.
And we've all been caught. I almost want to say raise your hands. That's funny to do on a podcast, but we've all been cut off in traffic sometime, right? With drivers trying to race to get to the next traffic light or exit, 30 seconds faster than the rest of us. We're thinking, what the heck? And, we get upset. We think that's being done to us personally. We think that they have something against us, and that's why they're cutting us off and going around and driving erratically. So here's what my dad did. He said, why get upset about this? The other driver doesn't know who you are, and they're only thinking about themselves. Often they don't get there, as I said, any faster. So we'll pull up. I'm with my dad, and we'll pull up to the light, and there's the car that will cut us off, several blocks earlier at the same light at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what my dad did? He looked over at the driver and he smiled. He smiled. And, one might think, well, that's sort of a revenge thing, but no. What he was trying to do was he's trying to relax them, to be friendly, to just kind of help calm whatever anxiety that they're facing. A smile can do so many things. Do you know when we smile, we can actually lose weight? Because
disarming.
Smiling, because it takes more muscles to smile than it does to frown.
And laughter works the same.
Laughter is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So I've got a big section here about smiling and just all the advantages to smiling, and that not only do you feel good, but you make others feel good. And when you do, you have what I call the boomerang effect. What happens is that when they're happy, when you've done something to make their day, you get the boomerang effect. Your neurons reflect back. They're called mirror neurons. You mirror how others are now feeling. And so if you've made their day, they make yours, and you get that boomerang effect and feeling. That's why when we go to visit, I was going to say people who are ill, either in the hospital or at home, and we're trying to cheer them up, our neurons, their mirror neurons reflect off of that, and they feel better.
Absolutely.
They're becoming cheerful.
And I've also found, if I could embellish just a little bit, rudeness often comes along with criticism. And when people are rude to you, they're also often critical. And what I try to do when I lead is when I hear this rudeness, and they're intending to be rude, they're not intending to help me. I listen to what they have to say, and then I take that as helpful advice. Even though they may not have meant it that way, they are actually helping me, because by providing criticism, they're providing feedback. No matter how you shake it, pretty or ugly, it's feedback. And we as leaders need feedback to do our work, to change the world, to beat the big guys. So what I've learned to do is embrace rudeness and embrace the criticism that often comes with it, because it's actually helpful information. And also laughing or smiling has which I strongly encourage. It has that quality that you're not defensive. Right. You don't want to appear defensive ever. No good leader or no good anybody ever comes across as defensive. But when you smile or laugh, it's not defensive, and it works like a charm. So
you're such an enlightened leader, Sandy. Nice to hear you talk about that.
Well, I've been at it a little while, certainly the past 17 years. But thank you so much. I wasn't fishing for compliments. I feel you're making me blush. I'm as pink as my shirt here, for those of you watching this on video. But you make an excellent point. You had mentioned the supply chain problems and the baby formula. It's remarkable, the supply chains. And here I was feeling sorry for myself because my ice maker is broken, and because of the supply chains, my ice maker can't be fixed. Howard, I'm back to making ice cubes the old-fashioned way in the tray and the crank and when you crank it, all the ice cubes come flying out all over the floor. That's what I have to do because my ice maker's broken. And here I am feeling sorry for myself when there's babies that can't get formula because of supply chain. So is that a wake-up call for me?
Yeah. No, that's true. But I do have to say, you're in a place where it's cool when it's 85. So you probably use ice a whole lot more than we do up north.
Well, thank you so much. Can we talk a little bit more? You said something which I've never discussed on this podcast before, has never been brought up before. The issue about you're not trying to be a hero. Can you talk about that a little further for us, please?
Yeah, I sure can. And I don't care what field it is, whether you're trying to be humanitarian, whether you're trying to help the environment, whether you're trying to help people. There's a lot of people right now trying to help refugees specifically from Afghanistan, who escaped before the Taliban took over, and they came with nothing. And as a matter of fact, I just read about a girl who raised $15,000 in cash and clothing donations to help clothe these Afghan families. So when you ask about the people who don't feel like heroes, they feel more like, this is what needs to happen. This is what I need to do. And they don't question it. They don't wonder about it. They just move in the direction of making it happen. My brother-in-law is a rabbi in Omaha, Nebraska. And he had this vision that, why do we have such separate faiths? What if we could come together, especially the three Abrahamic faiths? We should be more united. And so he created the Tri-Faith Initiative in Omaha. And they have a church, a mosque, and a synagogue, all on the same ground, sharing some common facilities for general programs and education, and then having, of course, their own facilities for prayer and study. It's remarkable, and they've done some just fabulous work and continue. This tri-faith community continues to live on and try to be an example to others. Aryeh wasn't thinking about how can I be a hero in Omaha or the world. He was just thinking about how can I make a difference with what
it needed to be done. And
yes,
and I believe I've heard of it as you describe it. I believe I've read about it and was very impressed by it when I heard about it. And I'd like, if I could just add one little thing, add a little bit of value to that, is people such as, this is your brother. Your brother did
brother-in-law, yes.
Your brother-in-law. So when he did this, the time may come where he may get recognition for it, or some sort of accolade for doing this work. And it's very possible that your brother-in-law would say, "Oh no, don't give me this attention. I didn't do that for accolades. I didn't do it for recognition." But he ought to embrace that recognition, though, because that would be inspiration for more people to do the same. And it's possible to take the recognition, to accept the recognition, and still do it with humility, and with the understanding that he's being a leader, and that by being a leader, it will inspire others to do the same. And I'm sure when those accolades come, they probably have already come, he's probably felt a little like, oh, I didn't want to do it for that reason.
Correct. I've studied great people in all walks of life, from Jacques Cousteau, the oceanographer, to Frances Hesselbein, who turned around the Girl Scouts when they were failing in the 70s, to Olympic athletes, gold medal athletes, Duke Ellington, great musicians, composers, MacArthur Genius Grant winners. And humble and having a sense of humility is one of the characteristics they all shared, even Nobel Prize winners that I spoke to.
Even though those accolades are a testament to and a symbol of credibility, which can help a leader, especially when a leader is got an ongoing mission that could take many months or many years to accomplish. So we're about running out of time. Howard, do you have anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I do. I've got so many more stories to share with them, but I'd like to encourage them that to go to my website, Howard H. Prager, that's Prager.com, Howard H. Prager. And you can download a free chapter of the book. I'd hope that would encourage you or make you want to buy it, but at least you can read a chapter of it and hear more stories just from reading that. You can also download, just sign up for my newsletter, and you'll also get some worksheets to be able to track your performance as you grow making someone's day. And I'd like to leave everyone with one action that they can take as soon as they're done listening to this podcast, is think about someone who has impacted your life and helped get you to where you are. It could be a parent, a teacher, a professor, a friend, a colleague, a boss, anyone who has helped you get there, did something that helped spur you on. There's no statute of limitations for saying thank you. Thank them. Call, write a note, send an email, take them to coffee, take them to lunch, whatever you want to do, you're going to make someone's day. They're going to know that, and you're going to know that. And you'll be on your way to making someone's day a part of your daily practice.
Well, I now have my homework cut out for me, and I've written it down. I'm going to follow that advice. Thank you so much, Howard Prager, for joining me today. And I hope all of you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to rate, subscribe, and review this episode and this podcast on all of your favorite platforms. And remember, no matter who you are, you too can beat the big guys. Okay, stay with me. I'm just going to stop recording.